This week's episode of 86 Charles is brought to you by Amazon. Go to 86charles.com and click on the Amazon link before you do your shopping. In the year of our great reptilian overlord, 2016.
Scientists usually shy away from using the word miracle unless they're talking about the gene editing tool called Crispr. Quote, you can do anything with CRISPR, some say. Others just call it amazing. CRISPR can quickly and efficiently manipulate virtually any gene in any plant or animal. In the 4 years since CRISPR has been around, researchers have used it to fix genetic diseases in animals, combat viruses, sterilize mosquitoes, and prepare pig organs for human transplants. Most experts think that's just the beginning.
You are full of bullshit, my friend. I will sue you for everything you have. I will sue your ass.
Welcome to 86 Charles, with your hosts John Darby and Travis Spencer.
And with that, welcome to 86 Charles. Travis Spencer, how are you?
John Darby, I think this every 2 weeks thing is killing me right now because the world keeps on changing drastically
Almost
in between
daily.
our podcasts, which I guess is maybe a good thing because America loves it when I come on the air and am blown away by what's happening.
I don't think I would go as far as to say the world's getting better, though.
No, we're
I know it's a blanket statement, but
don't you think? I think in the long run, it will get better. We're going through some tough times where science is only starting to figure out what the fuck is really going on.
I think in society we are definitely in a downswing, but I do have, we'll call it faith, that it's gonna see an uptick at some point.
It's all good, man. It's all positive. Trump, Hillary Clinton, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just like, so if we get Trump in office, it means that we're all going to be up in political arms for 4 years until we get that guy out. If Hillary Clinton gets in, we get a woman in, and then we're all going to be up in arms to try to get this person out. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's all just a distraction, and that's what's frustrating about it. Because there is, I mean, even again, like what, like something we're talking about today with like CRISPR, that should be real, actual news. Instead, we have to hear about some intolerant or ignorant thing Donald Trump said, or what is Hillary hiding, and who is she hiding it from, and who did she talk to behind what closed door, and
or somebody sitting down.
Right.
Like, it's so stupid. Like, the news we get is just so stupid. There's amazing things happening, like CRISPR, where people are actually going into DNA, letter by letter, digit by digit, strand by strand, and changing it. And we don't even...
It is,
you know what?
Literally going to change the world and humanity. And, I mean, I shudder to think about how many people have probably never heard of it. And for even those that have heard of it, if they even understand on a base level what it is and what it does and what it could be.
Well, first of all, before you talk about how amazing it is, how did you first hear about CRISPR? I just want to know.
It had to be from you.
Oh, that's strange. You didn't find out about that on your own.
No, it definitely had to be from you.
And 5 years later, whatever, how like you want to name the show CRISPR?
Well, it's only because it's not that I just became aware of it as much as I feel like I finally sort of grasp it. As much as, I mean, obviously I'm a lay person, but I get what it is at least, and that is actually a big shout out to a friend of the show, Zach Termel. He sent me this really cool. He sent me a really cool video that he had watched and said that he thought that I would enjoy it, and had a huge portion on how CRISPR came to be, what it is, what it does, and it was broken down very simply, and it had a nice like animation to it, so you could see pictures to go with it as they're talking about things. It was really, really well done. So, all right, so let me read this little chunk right here, so we can get into that a little bit.
Yep.
So far, CRISPR's biggest impact has been felt in basic biology labs around the world. The inexpensive, easy-to-use gene editor has made it possible for researchers to delve into fundamental mysteries of life in ways that had been difficult or impossible. Developmental biologist Robert Reed likens CRISPR to a computer mouse. Quote, you can just point it at a place in the genome and you can do anything you want at that spot. Anything that is, as long as it involves cutting DNA. CRISPR, in its original incarnation, is a homing device that guides molecular scissors to a target section of DNA. Together, they work as a genetic engineering cruise missile that disables or repairs a gene or inserts something new where it cuts. That's incredible.
It's insane. It doesn't sound real. It sounds
I know.
like science fiction
that sounds
or a
like
video
complete
game.
science fiction.
It's a video game. CRISPR is clustered, regularly interspaced, short, palindromatic repeats.
Thank you.
It's absolutely nuts. Like, to think, well, you know what's really, really, really crazy about it is we don't know what 94% of DNA is. We don't even know. We call it junk DNA. And
Right.
we're going in and we're editing this. And we know 6% of what it is, and we're getting results. We're making things happen.
Right, with just the 6% that we understand what it does and how to manipulate it.
Absolutely. And have no idea what the long-term repercussions are going to be from editing 100% of DNA, only knowing 6% of it, right? Like, that's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
And it's awesome, and I think eventually it'll be great. But this might be how we had man-horses in the past, right?
Well,
like if you
and
want to go down that ancient alien theory, it's crazy.
For anyone that doesn't know, it could literally eliminate any and or all diseases as we know it, potentially. You could be born with something and they just go in and cut it out. It could allow people to live for well over 100 years. They're talking about that the first person to live to be 150 is probably already born, probably already on the planet.
That's insane.
So, and they're talking about in birth, you would be able to basically have designer babies. You could say, I want a baby who's going to be between 6'2" and 6'4", blonde hair, blue eyes, male, blah, blah, blah. And they could just about make to order your baby and eliminate any sort of genetic mutations that could go along the way. Anything, so any like Down syndrome, anything like that, gone.
It's only going to create new diseases, though. I don't buy that.
I don't, but these are all things that could
hypothetically,
happen.
absolutely.
These are all hypothetical outcomes of what this could be.
The weird thing to think is how like our own DNA will evolve based on that. So yeah, or is that exactly what that is? That's
I think honestly it'll replace evolution.
Or
because then
that
as the
just
planet gets to a
evolution?
point where it's like, oh shoot, we need gills now. Okay, cool. Let's go CRISPR somebody's DNA and now you have gills.
Right. Well, it's 5 degrees hotter. We need to make our skin so we can handle,
Right. We need thicker
hotter
skin
temperatures.
or whatever. I mean, it's
Well, and if we can-
mind-boggling.
And then we can also, obviously, if it's happening with our cells, human cells, of course it's happening with plants. So we're going to create plants that suck up all this, waste and garbage we put out there and somehow turn it into fresh air. Like in every city, we just put it, it's insane.
It's probably all possible.
I'm getting dizzy at the possibilities, John.
Yeah.
Sum this up while I get a beer or something to relax.
Well, you always like to make people afraid of the android takeover. We're going to be taken over by robots. This to me seems more plausible and just as dangerous. Is once we start getting into superhumans and manufacturing perfect, I'm using quotes, perfect human beings. I mean, there could be a human civil war in terms of people that were born naturally and then people that were born CRISPR.
First of all, I'm not trying to make people afraid, but aware.
Okay.
Second of all, this is the exact same thing. How is it any different? Like if you're a CRISPR modified,
if nothing
baby,
else, it's
are
a
you not an
precursor.
android? You were modified with technology. Like
Right.
maybe we just read the oracle wrong. We thought, we had to add something to your body, but like you modified you through technology, through the numbers.
I don't
math,
even
through
entirely
DNA.
disagree with you. This could just be the human version of that.
Well, we've got a good start if you're not entirely disagreeing with the truth. Like, maybe by episode 100 of this goddamn podcast, you'll agree with me and you'll recognize that I'm right.
And if there were two of you on this show, it would not go well. So let's see if I can hold
Let's
out a
try
little
it.
longer.
I'm going to try it, actually. It's going to go great. I'm just going to answer myself with the opposite version of exactly what I just said. That's why my girlfriend is ready to leave me. She hates me because I don't ever have a point. I just argue whatever point she's saying.
Got to be the contrarian.
There's no truth, only the other side. It's very Zen of me. It's very Buddhist. You're welcome.
All right, thanks, Buddha.
Any more questions? I'm here. I'm leaving the line open. I'm here all day. What else you got to say? Buddha!
Gonna count up all the chromosomes, do the math, make a clone, someone who will understand so I don't feel alone. When you tear it all apart, it's just DNA.
I put the money in the Crispr and make the bills real thin.
I'm ready to start. Get it going, get it flowing, get the party started. I bring you the facts and nothing but the facts, so help me, Charles. 86 Charles means 86. 86, of course, is a term that you're no longer welcome. You're out and expired. We have no more of you. We're out of that product. You are 86. 86 Charles. Best show, greatest show of all time. Yeah, it's 86 Mr. Charles. I refer to Charles, 86 Charles, 86charles.com. It's a good show, best show, greatest show of all time. For Mr. Charles, who's 86 Charles, this is Charles. Charles 86 himself. Say, hey man, time to go. Get the f*** out of here. You're 86. Boop, 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 boop.
Wrap it up.
Nickel, what? 5 topics currently trending. Travis.
John, I've been thinking a lot about space. What do you got?
Well, me too. Oddly enough. Mars simulation ends after a year on a Hawaiian mountain. 6 scientists who lived for a year inside a dome on a Hawaiian mountain emerged from the experiment meant to simulate a trip to Mars. The NASA-funded study was the second longest of its kind, following a Russian mission that lasted 520 days. During the simulation run by the University of Hawaii, the scientists go outside only while wearing spacesuits, as they work to help researchers understand how the isolation of a deep space mission would impact humans. They lived together for 12 months with limited contact from friends and family and the outside world. The experiment took place on isolated rocky Mauna Loa on the island of Hawaii, the state's largest island. It was a part of the High Seas, which stands for Hawaii Space Exploration Analog and Simulation Program, the 4th and longest High Seas mission to date. The first in 2012 lasted just short of 4 months. During the experiment, participants were almost entirely self-sufficient, using a limited supply of food and other necessities. Even routine communication between the crew and the outside world was subject to a 20-minute delay to mimic the limitations of communicating with deep space. The crew members said they faced several challenges, including the necessity of rationing limited resources and a plumbing malfunction that left them bathing with buckets for 2 weeks. High Seas plans to send crews into the simulation for 8 months at a time in 2017 and 2018.
John, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
How are we ever going to attract our best and brightest to be scientists when this is essentially what you have to do to go to outer space? Like, it's impossible. Not impossible. We'll get there, but it's tough.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Let me tell you what it's like being with a woman with a person for 11 years. This morning, Andrea said that she had read this news story and told me about it. And she was a big proponent. She really believed that she wanted to go to Mars and be one of these, people. And she's like, oh, no, you're like in a 5-foot space with somebody else every day. And I was like,
for a year,
what did you
you're
think
basically
you were
just
going to
isolated
happen?
with 5 other people.
Totally. But you're living on Mars and you get to go out, you get to walk out in a suit like once a month after your energy builds enough that you can actually do it. And it's extremely dangerous. If anything goes wrong, you're dead. You're dead. And at least in Hawaii, they're like, got all cut in their suit and they're like, Like they enjoyed it. They probably cut their own suits so they could feel the air, and we're doing all kinds of, it's insane. Like it's insane.
Space hijinks. No, it sounds awful.
Much.
And I get why it's a necessity, and I guess I can even understand that if I were a scientist, maybe I would be curious, especially if I were considering doing some sort of mission like that. I might want to see what kind of toll that would take.
Right. And I guess so. I'm much more adventurous than you are in the sense of like going into nature. But like the idea of not having oxygen and exploring this insane world where I'm reliant on technology to it's not the same. Like there's a reason that nature that I can go up to the top of a mountain and breathe the freshest air you can possibly imagine,
right,
as opposed to relying on everything that we've done in the city to get to this hill. Like no, like sign me up when you can put me to sleep for 95 light years or whatever until I can get to that planet that has oxygen that I can breathe on. I'm in. Until then, I don't know. John, speaking of 95 million light years away.
Yes.
Do you think we're alone in the universe?
Nope.
Well, we might have proof. An international group of astronomers has detected an interesting radio signal spike, one that could possibly be of alien origin from a star system located 95 light years away. Holy shit, did I say 95 million? I meant 95 light years away. Scientists who search for extraterrestrial intelligence at SETI find a powerful signal unique enough to warrant permanent monitoring of the signal source. A couple details have been released, but the more information on the finding will be coming out. It's very likely that the radio spike was produced by something else entirely, like Earth-based radio interference or even technical glitch or rotating planets. But this is probably the most exciting thing that SETI's found in years. And do you think this is it, John? Have we heard?
My guess is no. My guess is that it's probably something else that it's picking up. But it's always I'm always encouraged when equipment like that picks up something, even if it is a false signal, because then that means it just reiterates that it's working, and it enforces that there are things out there, and still things that we can't explain, because one of these days it is going to be something or someone.
Yeah, but do you think, and I don't know where I stand on this, because the fact that we're searching for radio signals to me seems like the wrong way to do it. But at the same time, I think how it actually works is like if we put out radio signals in the 60s or the 20s, actually, sorry, right? Like those have extended far beyond. So all the different signals are behind it, but like would those be the farthest out? Or I don't think they necessarily travel as fast as the other ones. So I think that the future would already come past it, because electronic light or whatever, all the energy is coming through. However, we got fiber optics or whatever. Like we should be researching that and not the radio signal that's probably thousands and thousands of years behind it.
Well, the dish or whatever it is up there to monitor the sun, I believe. I think it's up there to monitor solar activity, and it happened to pick up the radio wave or whatever it was that came in.
Well, yeah, but so within the electromagnetic spectrum, there's so many different kinds of waves. I'm just saying the radio wave is just its own unique channel or whatever. I just think that there's such more complex signals than a radio wave, and that's what SETI is all about. And it's like we're trying to find. It's like trying to watch an HD TV through like a really old binocular or something like that, where it's just so like we're looking through the lens of something that cannot
hooking up a Blu-ray to a black and white TV.
Absolutely. It's like I don't want to say give it up, because people have invested millions and millions of dollars and years and years and years, and like maybe somebody will send us a radio signal. Yeah,
but I also feel like it probably leads to the technology that we will need.
But we're talking about CRISPR in this episode. Like we're talking about we have the technology to change our DNA. And I'm a big believer that our consciousness and like how we're actually all connected through a channel way bigger and more broad and amazing and full 100% color and way beyond 1080p. Like, we live in our consciousness at the most intense level of energy or whatever kind of signal that's coming to us. And we're like nerds in a fucking 1960 basement looking at a radio signal and being like, oh, there was a wave.
Well, speaking of outdated and a little bit old and maybe doesn't have a place in the world anymore, Hugh Hefner parties for the last time at the Playboy Mansion.
What?
Hugh Hefner attended his last Midsummer Night's Dream party at the Playboy Mansion. The Holmby Hills estate, owned by Playboy Enterprises, has been bought from Hugh Hefner by 32-year-old Darren Metropolis, who lives next door to the property. Basketball player and former Kardashian Chris Humphries, rapper Too Short, and Alan Thicke were all in attendance. Mr. Metropolis is the co-owner of the Hostess brand. He told Entertainment Tonight that the Playboy Mansion is one of the most iconic properties in the world and the crown jewel of Holmby Hills in the Platinum Triangle. He bought it for $100 million, and it was previously reported that he had agreed to allow Hefner to remain in the property until he dies. Eventually, he's going to combine it with the house next door to make a giant property.
Ugh.
So, yeah, Hef's done.
I mean, it was already dead. It was done.
Yeah, but now it's kind of a phase.
Like, what do you think that was the last year of your life that you would have wanted to go to a party at the Playboy Mansion?
Let's go rough. 2005.
I was thinking about that. At least 10 years ago for me.
Yeah.
When I was
at first I was going to say 2010, 23. But I was like, nah, I wouldn't have. No. Like 2005 probably. Early.
Once I moved to, I didn't move to LA till 2010, but I don't know. Like, I just don't know if people know what that is, what the Playboy Mansion actually is. It's just like an event center that's rented out every day of the year, and there's a bunch of hot girls that work there. That's it. It's like a bar.
It hasn't had, and again, even if I would have gone in 2005, I probably would have looked at it like a museum with, again, like you said, a bunch of hot chicks working there. Then even in its,
with that being said,
when was its heyday? Like 70s, 80s, maybe even 90s a little bit?
I would say 70s and 80s. Well, no, actually, it was probably the 60s. Like, it was probably when it first started that it was, like, unreal. And then it became...
The internet really killed Playboy.
Big shout out
when
to
Playboy
Hugh
lost
Hefner.
its mystique, then the mansion lost the mystique.
Nothing but respect for Hugh Hefner, though,
Oh, one of the... I would say easily one of the top 100 lives ever lived. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's hard to say. It's hard to say, but
It's hard to say, but I would feel pretty confident saying top 100 lives ever lived.
As Michael Rappaport would say, a great stick man. Great stick man. How old did it say Hugh Hefner was?
90.
Jesus. What a ride. What a ride.
Yeah, are you kidding me?
I don't know what to say. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Hugh.
no, he said it. Just
Absolutely
respect to the half, man. Respect the half.
Speaking of the half, let's talk about true innovators in our evolutionary process. You've heard of Lucy, right?
I have.
Lucy is the Australopithecus ampharensis, who is essentially the closest thing we know now to the missing link between monkeys and ourselves, right?
Right.
So they're believed now that Lucy died by falling out of a tree. CT scans have shown that injuries to her bones similar to those suffered by modern humans in similar falls. 3.2 million year old hominin was found on a tree flooded plain, making a branch her most likely final perch. It bolsters the view that her species, Australopithecus afarensis, like I said, and I nailed it, spent at least some of its life in the trees. I don't know why that's such a big deal. I would have assumed that our missing link between a monkey and ourselves spent some life in trees, but I guess we got to have the science to really know, right?
Well, I was going to say, maybe it's just a little added proof to that theory.
Just through studies, right. So writing in the journal Nature, researchers from the U.S. and Ethiopia described a vertical deceleration event which they argue caused Lucy's death. In particular, they point to a crushed shoulder joint of the sort seen when humans reach out their arms to break a fall. And as the fractures on the ankle, leg, and bones, pelvis, ribs, and vertebrae, and skull. That's pretty old. It's hard to say.
I wonder, do you think she was sitting in the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down?
I honestly think she got assassinated. I think somebody took her out. Like, she was hanging out. It was probably somebody more advanced than her. I don't think Lucy was the smartest cat in her own species, you know. It was
the person that evolved just beyond Lucy was down on the ground throwing rocks at her.
Could have been. Or could have been the person who could climb higher than her and throw her down from the top of the tree.
Could be too.
A lot of questions. This opens up a lot of questions. I mean, hopefully with CRISPR.
It answers a little bit, though. It answers a little bit.
You think with CRISPR we can recreate Lucy and see, like, we could do like Lucy Thunderdome with a couple Lucys and then like see who falls from the tree?
I think just about anything's possible with CRISPR.
Man, I can't
Even
think about
Lucy
anything but
Thunderdome.
CRISPR. Lucy used to be really interesting to me, but now she doesn't matter because we're just in a simulation where somebody created Lucy just for a joke as a backstory for this podcast. It's crazy.
All right.
Just
All right, we got
some
one
minds,
more
bro.
story, which we don't normally get this political, but it's kind of blown up, so we may as well talk about it. Your boy, Colin Kaepernick, refused to stand for the national anthem during a preseason football game. His reasoning being that he is no longer, I don't know if he ever was, I guess, but he is not proud of the flag and he doesn't feel that the country represents the ideal behind the flag, and so he will not stand for it. What do you think, dude? Agree? Disagree? Is he a jerk?
It's definitely not a jerk.
No.
I wish that he had done this 3 years ago
Sure.
when we gave a shit about Colin Kaepernick. I'm sorry, Cap. I can't disagree. I can't agree.
I agree with his cause. I think he's absolutely right. Obviously, black people and any people of color, minorities, they all get treated like garbage in this country. I don't disagree with that.
100%.
Do I think athletes and celebrities and rich people should take a stand and make their voices heard, especially for people that don't have a voice? Absolutely, I think they should do that. Do I think sitting on the bench during the national anthem as a sign of quote-unquote protest is going to do anything other than create a crap storm and a bunch of negative attention to yourself? I think that's what that's going to accomplish. I don't like the way he did it. I have no problem with what he did or what he wants to do or what he wants to say, and I encourage anybody with a voice that anyone cares about to speak. But I don't think that this was the way to do it.
Yeah, but
I'm not even offended. I'm not upset.
But
I know
how
it's
do
not.
you do it? How do you do it? It's like he's got a limited voice, so he uses his limited voice, and I have to respect that. Like, that's cool.
But I guess more to my point, and I hate to even be like that, but he's a millionaire. You have so many resources at your disposal. Buy airtime somewhere. Run a commercial.
Right.
There's skywriting. Get a blimp. Get a billboard. Print up 10,000 T-shirts and hand them out. I mean, there's countless things that he could do. Hold a press conference. Someone would cover that.
Yeah,
Hold a
but it's
press
not gonna-
conference. I mean,
but
Carmelo
he is
Anthony's
right.
got a pretty good idea on things.
He's
like,
right.
in terms of social change. He does it a pretty good way.
He's right in the sense that, like, this is what Trump has figured out is, like, he can buy as much media as he wants and nobody's going to give a shit. If the news reports what he says, that's way bigger than buying media time, right?
Sure.
You agree with that? So,
Right.
but
if Colin Kaepernick did any of these things, the media would cover it.
but
he's
not,
a famous
but-
person.
But it wouldn't be the same as what he did, right?
Right, but now all the attention is away from his cause and on him as a player and as an individual.
Right.
No one's really talking
But
about
he was,
his cause.
From what I understand, he was relatively well prepared to answer the questions, and he kind of had a stance set. What I don't get is why do you do it in week 3 of the preseason? Who gives a shit?
Sure.
How about you do it in week 1 of the NFL season? And how about you earn that starting job? You know what I'm saying? It's like, where's your
I was
mind?
going to say,
where
why
you're gonna
don't you do
be-
it when you're more relevant?
That's what I'm saying.
You
Like, if
you wait until no one's talking about you as a football player to become a social activist?
Right.
That seems weird to me.
And if you want the loudest voice, you have to be the best because that's all we care about as fans is who are the best.
Or even, I'll even take it a step further. Don't sit out the game. Tell somebody
Right.
you're not going to dress for the game because of that, and you're going to stand on the sideline with a T-shirt that says something, or
But he has to
whatever.
win the job and be the best
To
guy
just
on
sit
his team,
down
right?
during the national anthem. That's not getting his point across.
So if you're not going to win the job and be the starting quarterback, you have to do it in preseason when people are still looking like you might have. Like, was that like his weight? He's like, oh well, I lost the job. If I would have won the job, I would have done it week 1. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Or was he already talking about this? Did that influence Chip Kelly's decision?
And if he hadn't had such a dip in his career, would he have even done any of this?
Right. Because now he's
Because when
worried
he was
about
at his
other
biggest,
things.
when he was at his most famous, none of this came up.
Right. He was also a very much younger guy. The country has gone through. You have to look at those situations, like whether it's happening more, the media is covering it more. I don't know.
But even in the last year, how many different opportunities would he have had to have stepped up and said something, make some sort of a stance, make some sort of a statement, and never did? But then decides to sound through the national anthem in week 3 of the preseason.
It's questionable. Yeah.
His message is fine. It was just
like
poorly
it's not the best
delivered.
way to deliver it. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess we'll see the fallout, but again, I think in the end it's gonna. By the end of the year, if we'll mention it at the year-end recap, be like, oh yeah, remember at the start of the season, Kaepernick didn't stand up? That was kind of a thing. Just like when Chris Jackson, a.k.a. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, didn't do it. Talked about that for about a week, and now no one cares.
Right. They're about the same talent level.
That's what I'm
Unless
saying. It's
you're-
about the same. It's about the
unless
same.
you're Phil
It was
Jackson.
a slow news day when it happened, and people talked about it and got all up in arms, and then something else happened, and we forgot about it.
All right, let's move on.
That's done.
Let's talk about CRISPR. No more of this nonsense.
Well, you can tell everybody. Yeah, you can tell everybody. Go ahead and tell everybody. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I am. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
Jesse's favorite part of the show.
From last week.
Hello, folks.
I love that the whole podcast was set up to talk about mock drafts, and the first thing Derby does is discredit the necessity of the mock draft. And I quote, "Picking an imaginary team for an imaginary sport for a game played by grown men that's also being played by grown men." And he, incidentally, was not even describing the mock draft. That's describing the real draft. The mock draft would be practicing picking an imaginary team for an imaginary sport for a game played by grown men that's also being played by grown men. And now, on the podcast, we'll be discussing the times we practiced picking an imaginary team for an imaginary sport. And now, 2 weeks later, I'm analyzing the discussion of the time they practiced picking an imaginary team for an imaginary sport. I give the discussion a C-, but only because of how they ended, somehow concluding that masturbation was slightly less pointless than mock drafts because of the milk it yields. And if you're wondering if it weren't for the milk yielding, would the grade have been higher or lower, then what you're asking me is to grade a mock podcast segment discussing the times they practiced, blah, 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 blah. But I only give grades on real segments because the rest is a waste of time. This is Jesse, and discovering my standards was my favorite part of last week's podcast.
It's time for the failed athlete perspective. Travis.
John, I'm getting a little antsy. This might be the longest week ever.
You getting ready?
Oh yeah. Every year it's like this in football, you know. So
Oh, yeah.
excited for week 1. Weeks 1 through 13 are pretty awesome. Can be.
Yeah.
I'll usually make the playoffs in at least one league, you know, and then it's all heartbreak and despair after that. And if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, last year got us all the way to week 20, or was that 19? 19, right? Or I think that was 20 weeks out, right? Ugh.
Yeah.
And then punched in the dick. I
It's
recently watched All or Nothing, the Amazon show about the Arizona Cardinals. I highly recommend watching episodes 1 through 7. After that, just pretend episode 8 doesn't exist. Just live in that happy little world that Carson Palmer didn't have 6
I was
turnovers.
just going to say, you know who also doesn't watch episode 8? Mr. CP.
Ugh. just he had such a good year too. I mean, the Packers game he was pretty crappy, but he at least didn't blow the game. Like, oh man.
But I mean, that's sports, man. You have your best day on the right day, it can change your life. You have the worst day on the right day, it can change your life. It's just, I mean, talk to Scott Norwood.
Yeah, absolutely.
That guy had one bad kick that essentially ruined his entire life. So even though Carson threw 17 interceptions, it still
18,
wasn't even that bad.
18 and a half.
Sorry, that's right. 18 and a fumble.
At least it wasn't a butt fumble. We'll give him that.
Right. And he ended up getting a raise afterwards. So it didn't even turn out that bad.
I know, but okay, so let's start with the Cardinals before we even talk fantasy. Like, how do you think this year is going to go after that? Does that motivate you, or it's like, oh, you're just exhausted because you think of everything you have to go through to get that far again, and then somebody's just going to drop the ball and it's over. You're just not good enough.
No, I think they're all properly. I think a lot of that comes from leadership, and they've got about as good a leadership as anybody in the NFL.
Right. And
so I think for them that it's more motivation to know that, hey, we were a game away from the big dance. They know they have the talent. They know what it takes. They know what that grind is like. I'll tell you, I mean, when you know how much something sucks, it actually makes it easier. And so they know how long it is, and they know how much it sucks to get to where they were going, but they also know how close they were and how sweet that tasted.
Right. And the offseason was bolstering the defensive line. Maybe we can actually get some pressure on a quarterback this year so the secondary doesn't just get picked apart, you know?
Yeah.
We'll see.
But, I mean, ultimately, we just can't have key turnovers. Cannot have key turnovers. And multiple key turnovers.
Right. To put your defense in that situation over and over again.
I don't care how good your defense is. You can't have that many turnovers, especially to a good team.
Yeah, and then just health, staying healthy if that's possible.
Sure.
I mean,
but that's the underlying theme of everybody in the NFL.
Right. I think their depth is going to allow them to be stronger when somebody does go down everywhere except quarterback, maybe.
Right. That's the big concern. That's the biggest concern because he's the piece that is absolutely irreplaceable, and he's not the most durable.
Right.
He's had
Last
some
year
injury
was
stuff,
great.
and he's on the wrong side of 35.
Yeah. Played one of his best years ever last year until the playoffs, so there's hope.
Sure.
Larry Fitzgerald looked amazing, so there's hope.
No, there's definitely hope. I don't know. I feel like this year's pretty wide open. I don't see a real clear-cut favorite on either side.
Yeah, I think it's hard to predict this early. There's too many variables. I like to watch a good 4 or 5 games. Like me and my buddies from Arizona are going. We try to do Vegas week 1 every year, and
nice.
It's fun, but I hate it because it's like week 1 is maybe the worst week to bet.
You have no idea who's doing what. Yeah,
but at the same time, like dumb luck, sometimes you're better off. So I don't, it's fun.
Right.
But
sometimes the less you know, the better equipped you are.
Absolutely, because there's nothing worse than studying for 8 weeks and then going into week 9 and just one thing goes wrong and you lose.
Oh yeah,
lose it all.
I remember we were in Vegas one time for week 1. And I told somebody it was, if I'm recalling correctly, it was a Ravens-Bengals game. And I remember being like, dude, Ravens, 100%, no question, put the money on it, and you can buy me a beer after you win. And he wasn't sure, and I completely convinced him to go Baltimore, and they got beat. And it was just like, man, I lost all credibility the whole week.
Yeah, you done.
It was pretty bad.
Week 1 is tough. You never know. All right, well, let's move on to some fantasy. How many leagues are you doing?
No, hold on. Let's go injuries real quick.
Okay, injuries first. All right, so let's talk injuries. We got Teddy Bridgewater went down. Most likely done for the year. It hasn't been official.
No, he's absolutely done for the year.
Blown ACL.
Torn ACL. Done.
Tony Romo out 8 to 10 weeks, maybe shorter.
I thought it was initially 6 weeks.
You hear everything from 6 to 8. Jason Garrett won't even give it a timetable, so it could be shorter. But
so it's probably going to be at least 6, and then maybe.
Yeah, I think their bye week is week 7 or something like that. So it wouldn't be until week 8 that he would come back. Are the Cowboys better off without Tony Romo?
No,
of course not.
But even with Tony Romo, I still don't think they have enough to go all the way.
No, I mean, redeveloping or putting an emphasis back on their running game is a very smart move.
Oh, for sure.
With that offensive line,
and you add a little more. You add some running back talent. And you've got one of the best wide receivers in the league, but still not enough.
I like Dak Prescott, but it's just preseason. I can't until I actually see him in a real game. You can't judge him. Can't judge him on.
And even if he's good, I mean, I don't suspect he'll be great, but even if he's good, I still don't think the Cowboys have enough.
Dion
Teddy
Lewis,
Bridgewater done. We already know about Dion Lewis. I don't even know if that dude will play all year.
I think he will, but it's going to be after week 8, which I knew. So I drafted him in the official 86 Charles League because I figured maybe 3 or 4 weeks he'll be back to his full self. I didn't know they were going to put him on the PUP list. That's typical Belichickian nonsense waiting. But it's also our commissioner's fault for drafting on August 20th. Why the hell are we drafting on August 20th? That's the stupidest thing ever. You wait until after the third preseason game and you draft in between that week and week 1. Yeah. It's that simple. Like this commissioner proves himself to be incompetent again and again at management, at any kind of management. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of this crap.
But we also keep signing up. I mean, we play in every one of his leagues: football, basketball.
I ran the basketball league. The basketball league was great.
Didn't he run it one time?
What?
Didn't he run it one time?
No, that was like his first time he was ever in a league, and he's that's
right. He was just in it and was manipulating it. He didn't actually run.
He's vying for 5th place as there's still money on the line, picking people up off the waiver wire, and we had to cut him out.
Right, trying to screw me.
Unbelievable. All right, well, moving on. So, who do you like this year? Who have you consistently been drawn to in all your leagues?
Oh, dude, I'm living and dying with Gary Barnidge. I think I have Gary Barnidge in 2 of my 3. And the only reason he wasn't in my 3rd was I intentionally didn't pick him because I was like, I can't have Gary Barnidge in every league, and I know I'm probably going to get him at least once more. Just because of where I'm taking tight ends in the same damn place.
So you're waiting. You're waiting on a tight end.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I kind of like if Jeff Reed or Greg Olson are there at about the 4th or 5th pick. I'm thinking about it. I'm always thinking about it. Depends on who else is there because I'm trying to.
No, it's too early.
I've been thinking running backs. Like there's only a few studs this year, so I want to get a couple studs.
Yeah.
And then I think wide receiver depth. There's a lot, and it's going to change. And I think a wide receiver you're more likely to be able to pick up off the waiver wire possibly than a running back. But who knows? There's so many injuries. It's hard to say.
In season, it's easier to come across wide receivers than it is running backs for sure.
Right. But they're also less. Like a second or third wide receiver option is going to is boom or bust. They're always like that, where they're going to have a 2-touchdown game, and then the next game they're going to put up 50
but
yards.
There's just more of them to choose from, though, and it's like, and you can find a guy where it's like, oh, this slot receiver's been freaking out. Like you can, get something out of him maybe if you have to start him 1 week.
Yeah,
but running backs, it's like once you get into a second running back, then it just turns into running back by committee, and then they're bringing in their fullback on the goal line and a bunch of stupid crap.
Right. All season there's going to be one of those Baltimore Ravens on the waiver wire that you can pick up, and maybe that game he'll have a touchdown. You never know because there's going to be 4 guys. Like, it's ridiculous.
Right. Does that Teddy Bridgewater injury make you like AP more or less?
I had to drop him a little bit just because now – with Bridgewater getting better,
they're keyed right back into him now. 8 men in the box.
Exactly, 8-9 men in the box. Sean Hill, go ahead and beat us. And they're probably going to trade for Sanchez or another.
They should
backup.
go get Geno Smith. Go get Geno.
Where's Ick and Impali? As long as Ick isn't in the same division.
No, he's in Buffalo. It's fine. And he's out for the whole year.
Oh, he is out for the whole year? Yeah, I'd go get Geno Smith then. That way, as long as – and I'd just make sure, like, when you bring him to the table, you're like, do you owe anybody on the Vikings on this team money? Like,
they're like, dude, here's a blank check. You give that to whoever you owe money to.
Yeah, we'll take it out of your signing bonus, and we'll just pay your debts because apparently you're terrible at poker or whatever you're
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
where do you
Sanchez
stand?
becomes an obvious choice. I can't –
You're with me on Peterson.
Geno Smith was the name that I came up with because I know the Jets were shopping him.
But I'd rather have Sean Hill than Geno Smith, honestly.
Right, but you have to have an answer if Sean Hill goes down.
Yeah. I mean, go get Kaepernick. He's only got a $114 million contract. I'm sure that'll be real easy. People are going to be lining up to trade
I know
for him.
Denver tried really hard to get Kaepernick and just couldn't make it work.
Well, I think that was all based on him restructuring his deal. Quarterback's tough. Isn't it incredible that in all the world, as long as football, as popular as football is, there's really only like 15 dudes who are any good at this position. It's that hard.
Yeah, and even
Blows my
15
mind.
might be generous.
Absolutely. 15 like competent, and then
Right.
it's so crazy. But yeah, so you're with me on Peterson. You're dropping him, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
He's still first round, probably still top 10.
Right.
But am I taking him like third or fourth or even fifth? No.
6 is where I'm sitting for. We've got a draft today that's airing today, and some mocks. I was looking at Peter. I liked Peterson there, but now I'm thinking I think I'd almost rather have Ezekiel Elliott, who I'm really not that high on, than Peterson.
Man, I mean, Ezekiel Elliott could be a 2,000-yard rusher, or he could be a running back by committee with Alfred Morris and Darren McFadden if he doesn't pan out. They all talk about how special he is, but I don't know. For some reason, I'm not really drinking the Kool-Aid on that guy.
You know what?
I think at just about every draft I've had an opportunity to get him, and I have passed on him.
Yeah,
I'm not taking him one time.
Would you grab what's his name in Texas? Lamar Miller over him?
I think I might actually. Well, I guess that would all depend on where I was picking. If Ezekiel Elliott fell out of the top 10, 12, I'd probably take him before I took Lamar Miller.
How high do you take?
That's tough. That's really tough, actually, because actually, you know what? It's not, because I'm going the opposite of Lamar Miller this year, because Matthew Berry is so into Lamar Miller, he can't possibly be that good.
Avoid him like the plague.
Because that guy did that to me on C.J. Anderson, what was it, last year? And I'll never get over that. He burned, or maybe it was 2 years ago. Might have been 2 years ago with C.J.
I'm
Anderson.
the guy who picked Michael Vick first one year partly because of Matthew Berry. Like, he had a good argument. No. Like, Michael Vick could have, and then it's like, eh.
No, I don't like
you
Matthew
can't be.
Berry.
I like the CBS sports guys, Dave Richard and Jamie Eisenberg, way better than Matthew Berry.
And I don't have a real problem with Matthew Berry, but when he's that high on somebody, I got to stay away.
Right, just avoid him. Yeah.
Plus, I'd rather have DeAndre Hopkins than I would Lamar Miller, and I don't want both.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously doesn't mean anything, but Brock Osweiler tore apart the Cardinals secondary in preseason. He looked pretty good.
I was gonna say I don't remember if I edited it out or not, but I have to go on record and say I was so wrong when I said Mark Sanchez was better than Brock Osweiler. I think I really underestimated how bad Mark Sanchez has become.
Oh, he's awful.
He's not even a game manager anymore.
Right. At least
he
in
can't
New York,
even do that. He can't even just not screw it up.
No. Well, I was still believing him last year. I was like, screw Sam Bradford. Mark Sanchez just as good as him. And then literally,
well, I was going to say, because you saw some flashes in Philly where he had to fill in, and you saw, okay, this guy could be a competent quarterback.
No, he's terrible. He's
terrible. He's terrible. Terrible.
I mean, he might be your starting quarterback in Minnesota, though. So
yeah, true. No, he's going to be a backup somewhere in this league this year,
right.
No question. And then he could end up starting, because any backup could end up starting in this league. But,
all right, let's wrap this up. Give me who you're high on this week. Who's your new sleeper? Jalen Strong looked good. I think he had a touchdown against the Cardinals.
Oh, you know what? I'll go D, and I took him just because I'll stick in that same vein. Will Fuller.
Oh, Will Fuller
with
there
the
you
Texans,
go.
Because they're saying he's going to be the number 2, and he has potential to break. He could be. He's really kind of a boomer bust. He could turn into like Mike Wallace when he was with the Steelers, or he could just be garbage. But I'll throw out Will Fuller, because I actually took him in a league and I took a flyer on him.
I hope Robert Turo, a.k.a. Robot Turd, is listening to this, because if you're excited about Houston Texans players, he's going to be losing his mind.
I know he's not, but any shout out to Robbie Turo is a good thing. I love that
Robot Turd.
Robot Turd.
You know I'm picking
Houston's
at the end
pride.
of drafts? You know I'm picking at the end of drafts? Because he's always there, Mr. Marshawn Lynch, because you never know. If he walks back through that door, you might have a championship, my friend.
You're an idiot. Come
Marshawn
on,
Lynch.
man.
He's playing football in Australia. He's just going to come back like week 3 and just start crushing. Wait for an injury.
You're
He'll get bought
crazy,
out.
dude.
He'll go to a different team. Marshawn Lynch. Here he comes. Beast mode. Beast mode.
If it happens, man, you're going to get such a tip of the cap, but I don't think there's any chance.
Well, okay, so I have no problem drafting him, but the hard thing is how long do you hold on to him? Because you know you're going to need that roster position in the first
of course you are.
5 weeks, you know?
Yeah,
so,
that's what in my head, I was like, if you keep him longer than 4 weeks, you're crazy.
Yeah, but if he does come back, it would probably be week 6 or 7, so it's like, well,
no.
How long are you going to hold on? It's tough.
Why would he wait that long to come back? If he's going to play, it's going to be, if he's not there in the first 4 weeks, he's not playing this year.
I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. Pick Marshawn Lynch.
Cause I'm in beast mode. Give me those beats, I eat those. All day, I don't sleep, no. I don't even know what I got sheets for. We together like
It's time for the Facebook World News Update. This Real to Someone News Update is brought to you by Crispr, the Adobe audition of DNA. A man in California said he doesn't believe in the afterlife, but also like how totally stupid would it be if this is it. A man in Los Angeles said Olympic handball is the closest thing to basketball that the world has to offer. #Olympics. A woman in Massachusetts said she's glad she didn't go to university. She can get raped on her own time and not have to worry about grades.
Researchers have identified thousands of genes that affect our risk of disease. To understand how genes work, researchers need ways to control them. The CRISPR method is based on a natural system used by bacteria to protect themselves from infection by viruses. The CRISPR method is based on a natural system used by bacteria.
Put the money in the Crispr, make the bills refer.
The CRISPR method is based on a natural system used by bacteria to protect themselves from infection by viruses. When the bacteria detects the presence of virus, it produces 2 types of short RNA, one of which
Every cell in our body contains a copy of our genome.
A woman in Los Angeles said, "Ever had a Twix in your bag so long you had to eat it with a fork?" A man in Inglewood said, "Hey, #NFL teams." This morning in the shower, he caught a falling bar of soap, and he's not currently on an NFL roster. Get at him. #hands team. This Real to Someone news update is brought to you by Crispr, the Adobe audition of DNA.
Dad's got notebooks. We don't know what's in her notebooks. She's gonna show us all her notebooks. Little yellow pad.
All right, Welcome to a very special edition of Little Yellow Pad. I don't know if you can hear the drumming. My friend Karen and I, say hi, Karen.
Hi.
And I are in Istanbul, Turkey, and we're eating outside. And a man just walked down the street with a drum and started playing it. Now, if you know Istanbul like I know Istanbul, you would know this is not normal. This is, in fact, it's never happened.
No, it never happened.
It's never happened to me ever, that a man, and I'm not 100% sure he knows the people, but weirdly, about 10 minutes before he came down the street playing the drum, this, like, posse of 20, 15, potentially Turks, but possibly from Iran or Qatar, someplace. Just walked up to this totally empty restaurant and caused a complete kerfuffle.
Yes, everyone on the street is jealous.
Yeah, because all the restaurants are empty because people are afraid to come here, which is, we'll talk about that next week.
Which is nonsense.
Right? Say it again.
Nonsense.
It's nonsense. So they they all took over this restaurant, and then within like 5 minutes, this man came up the street with a drum. So either he knows them, I hope, or they're just a very welcoming group of people.
And he'll have his hand out soon.
Yeah, and he'll have his hand out soon. So we did talk to our waiters, and they did play the table for us for about 2 seconds, and then said maybe we'll go Turkish dancing later. It's probably not going to happen.
Probably not.
Anyway, I'll catch up to you guys a little later. Okay. Hey, wait a minute. I said I was going to catch up to you later. I'm going to I'm going to catch up with you right now. And the waiter just looked at me like I'm a psycho, which now they're like, why is that weird girl talking into her phone? I'm like, dude, there's a guy playing a drum across the street. I'm not the weirdest person in this scenario. So yesterday we went to Troy, and before that,
Gallipoli.
Went to Troy and Gallipoli, and I had a little tour. And then yesterday we met a nice Turkish graduate named Emre
Sabasi.
And he will be doing a work story for you soon. Oh, and you know what? This is very good timing.
Yeah.
That as
This is the call to prayer.
yeah. So you might never have experienced this yourself. Being in a Muslim country, every few hours they do a call to prayer, and we are right near Sultan Ahmet Square. And the Hagia Sophia, which are two sort of major historical mosques here in Istanbul. And being here, we can hear the call to prayer at these various times. I think it'll play again about 9 o'clock. So you can probably get the vibe, I guess, of the situation. It's dusk. The sun is going down on the Sea of Marmaris. We have a couple of cute Turkish waiters who will never hear this, so they won't know I just said this about them. We're eating lovely food. There's a guy with a drum, and there's the call to prayer. So,
That's right, sister.
Yep. And I know Karen is my sidekick, so I know that this has absolutely nothing to do with Little Yellow Padding. But I will write this down, and then in about 10 years, when Jesse and I do our podcast, I will read from it. So I'm going to just leave you with a few tones from the Muezzin. All right, it's over. Well, I'll put it in the footnotes. The singer of the prayer. Goodbye. Okay, so this is actually the footnotes. I'm back at the hotel and I listen to this, and it's Muezzin. I don't know what's going on. I was on vacation and there was a drum. I don't know. Second, it's Sea of Marmara. It's not Sea of Marmaris. Marmaris is a place, but it's the Sea of Marmara. And I'm too OCD to let that go. Anyway, it's goodbye again. Goodbye for now, really, this time. I totally mean it. Good night. Goodbye.
Yanım çok kalabalık, sesin gelmiyor bağır.
brought
to
bread.
men, women, and children.
I've brought water with lemon for the table.
I have hot tea.
Can I box that for you?
I'll bring your change.
So, we had this friend who was doing Turkey tours, like for 15 or 30 days, I'm not sure. And one of his groups, he met this girl from, I think from New Zealand, early 20s, maybe 18 or 20. And at the end of the trip, he's getting feedback from the passengers, you know, just randomly. And apparently this girl, she was really confused about the squat toilets. And her question was, where you put your feet? So she was like, where do your feet go? Apparently she was sitting down on the floor, yeah. And my first thought was, she was also sitting down on the seats, you know, on the bus. And it's not always the same seat, so.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
In a way, it's pretty disgusting. Considering that you're spending like 2 weeks at least with the same person, finding out that she doesn't know what the squat toilets are, and she's doing it wrong. Yeah, I don't know.
That was Essa A. Thanks, Essa A. Appreciate the story. She is a tour guide on Deb's trip while she's in Turkey.
Deb, our world traveler. She's doing enough traveling for the both
True.
of us who can't even leave California. I mean, you can't leave because of parole, but I'm too poor. Although I am going to Vegas this weekend.
No,
so.
see? You're not that poor.
And next weekend. Back-to-back Vegas weekends.
Well, just don't gamble your house
right.
or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's over. It's done. I'm just cashing it in. But Essa, great story. Thanks for going right down the alley I want to talk about. Pooping. Squatty pot. Have you ever squatted in a squat toilet?
I honestly had to look it up because I obviously I had a pretty good idea of what it was, but I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, is there any way you would think to sit down on that thing? It doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, I would even if I went and looked at that thing, it wouldn't be my impression to put my butt cheeks on it.
Yeah, it's like okay, it's on the ground, so there's a reason it's on the ground.
Here, I want to read the definition just in case. A squat toilet, also known as a squatting toilet, Indian toilet, or Turkish toilet, is a toilet used by squatting rather than sitting. There are several types, but they all consist essentially of a toilet pan or bowl at floor level. So it's a Turkish toilet.
I've never used a squat toilet, but I've definitely squatted in the woods. You know, I got no problem with it. Dig a little hole with a stick, squat, drop it, and it can be kind of hard to aim. So, but yeah, it's good for you. It's good for your back lines up. It seems to slide out a little better because when you're just sitting, your whole intestinal, it's all messed up. So you should squat, even if you just get
it kinks your colon.
Yeah, you don't want to. Fighting through a kink is tough. Then you got to pressure it. Sarah Silverman said it good in her book. Never force it out. She says never force it. Just let it go.
She talking
about
pooping
as it comes. Yeah, she says don't push it out.
Why is Sarah Silverman talking about that?
Because she has a lot of experience.
Don't we all?
Sarah Silverman somehow, because she's associated with the Democratic Party now, is the authority in pooping.
Yes. All right.
No, but there is something to be said about forcing it when you're pushing it.
No, it's not that it's inaccurate information. It's just odd information to come from Sarah Silverman.
Yeah, it was in her book, and that's what I thought of first when I think about squatting for some reason. Sarah Silverman and squatting. But yeah, so even if you don't have a squatty potty or a squatting toilet, you should get a little booster for your feet. Lift up your feet as you're sitting on the toilet, and then recreate the proper colon alignment, squeezing out non-pinch, right? But I don't have one. It's just one of those things. Like, I'm barely to the point where now I regularly have like wet naps in the back of the toilet, and that's a big enough move, you know? Like, to have that and the squatting stool, I think you got to be at least 40, right?
What do you have on the back of the toilet?
Oh, just wet wipes.
Oh, gotcha. I thought you said
You don't have wet
all I
wipes?
heard was like naps. And I was like, I'm like, wait a second. You've
Oh,
got
it's-
and then, so I started thinking, I was like, do you have like a neck pillow back there to take a nap on the toilet? What are you saying to me? And I was like, no, I'm not going to start
You got a
sleeping on the toilet
massager.
even when I'm 40, bro. That sounds terrible.
Man, that's the future. You have a neck massager. So you start it up. You get in proper squatting position. You know what I really want, though? I would love a bidet. A bidet would be better than wet
I do
naps,
want a
probably.
bidet.
Bidet
I'd
would be
get down
pretty
on
great.
a bidet. All day on a bidet.
All day on a bidet with SAA.
Oh, snap.
Whoa, what happened there?
That was a rare moment of creativity out of you, Spencer.
Man, it's the morning. I haven't been drinking all day, so I'm bright.
That's why.
Starry
You're in your prime right now.
This is it. Thanks again to
Thank you,
Asa.
Asa. We
Love
appreciate
poop
that.
stories. Oh, hold on. We didn't cover. There's something like we need like the guys from Silicon Valley to figure out the probability that you sat in the same seat after she pooped. So what'd she say? 20 days. She's on a bus. 20 days with this girl. There's a pretty high probability she sat in the same. And then there might be fecal matter all
No
over
question.
the place.
I don't even think that's debatable.
So we don't even need scientists. We can just figure this out. Say it's like an 85% chance that you sat in this woman's fecal matter.
Or at least somebody else's because
she's
she's
wearing
sat in it.
pants. But you can't figure she's washing her clothes very much because she's going to hostels and going.
I'm saying, man, you're on like a 3-week tour. That's pretty foul.
Just, what's the logic for just sitting down?
Yeah, dude, people don't. Come on, people don't know.
Well, at least, but aren't there a lot of Turkish bathhouses everywhere? So maybe she's just washing off in the bathhouse afterward, right? Getting a massage.
Going from the squat
you gotta
pot
feel
to
bad
the
for the
Turkish bath.
masseuse. Yeah, you really got to feel bad for the masseuse because then if she's, if the masseuse is in the butt area at all, then it's on the masseuse's hands. Lot going on here, man. Lot going on.
You read a lot into Essa's subtext.
Well, I mean, pooping is just such a fascinating topic. I can just talk about it for days and days and days.
I mean,
but we've got to move
yes,
on.
Thank God.
Unfortunately. So, John, where can the people find us?
I mean, you got to start at 86charles.com.
That is 86charles.com. And for the people on Instagram and Twitter, then go to @CompanyBlaster.
Where else are we?
I think we're on Facebook. We're on Tumblr. We're pretty much everywhere.
Now, let's say in theory you wanted to shop at Amazon for your daily purposes. What would you do?
And you want to buy, I don't know, are you buying a book called Introduction to International Politics or Introduction to International Political Economy by chance? So if you need that book, or 1066, The Year of the Conquest, or the year 1000, What Life Was Like at the Turn of the Century.
I'm impressed that people
you would
are buying
go to
books.
86 total. We got some smart people listening
We've
to this
got a
podcast. Now I'm a little worried.
reader.
And I'm just sitting here talking about probabilities and possibilities of pooping.
You could get a squatty potty on Amazon.
1215, The Year of the Magna Carta. So go to 86charles.com. Click on the Amazon link. We'll have it on the page. It's all over. Or you can go to 86charles.com/Amazon, and there will be a link there. There's so many ways that you can help us
trying to
out
make it easy.
and fund John Derby getting out of the state of California.
No. Why would I don't want to leave California.
Yeah, it's not safe
No,
elsewhere.
it's not.
Trust me.
I like my
Gets
back
pretty
to the
wild
water
out
so
there.
I know who's coming at me.
Well, the aliens will attack from the water, generally. So they're going to come up.
Well, then that's fine.
You know the
If I get
reptilians
taken out by an
live
alien, that's
underwater.
fine. I'm just not getting taken out by some sucker human. Not happening.
Ooh, you know what somebody bought? A lion mane dog costume. That
is pretty awesome.
I've wanted one of those for my cats for years. I always want to give the cat a lion cut, but I can't have we don't have long-haired cats. I'm not going to do it. But this might be the answer. A lion mane costume. It'll last on their head for about 3 seconds. Can't even get a picture on it.
I feel like I should be way more
but a
against
dog.
dressing up animals in costumes, but I really do get a kick out of it. I find it funny as hell.
It's hilarious. Like my kitten now, her head's so small that like everything looks cool as a hat because you can fit so much on it. Like so many good hats.
Oh.
Beer koozies are my favorite hats. She looks like a little chef. Oh, shout out to Rick. He's got a new cat in the
Yes,
family.
he does.
Welcome. What's the cat's name?
I
Do
think
we
they're
know?
still debating, but last I was told is that they were leaning towards Morty.
Oh, I kind of like Morty. That's
But
pretty
then I
good.
introduced Percival as an option, and I think that is being considered.
No, Morty's way better because then Rick and Morty can cruise around town.
Well, yeah. Yeah, my
You know,
my
Rick
vote
and
was for
like-
Morty, and then we just started throwing out things.
Do you think Rick needs a motorcycle? Have you ever seen the Cat Whisperer?
No.
Whatever that guy's name is, he rides on a motorcycle and rolls with his cat. So maybe if Rick and Morty rolled around on a cat on a motorcycle.
I know the dog whisperer.
Little sidecar.
The cat whisperer.
I don't know if he's actually the cat whisperer, but he's like, Jackson. Isn't Jackson the cat whisperer?
Mm.
Jackson the cat guy? You never heard of Jackson the
Cat
cat guy?
Jackson? No, never have.
He's bald with a beard. I think it's on Jackson Galaxy. There you go.
Sweet.
Look up Jackson Galaxy, the cat guy. All right, but Rick and Morty, welcome to the 86 Charles family. Morty, one day we'll have to arrange a meeting between Twiggy and Morty. Lou doesn't like other cats, so it's not going to happen.
Lou doesn't
But
like
Twiggy
anybody
might be
because
down.
he's a cat.
No, poor guy he's running around with a cone right now. We had to take him to the vet.
Oh, cone of shame. That sucks.
Yeah, he is not a happy
Nope.
guy. But here's to the future, Lou. It's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be okay, buddy. Everything's
We
gonna
got
be
you,
okay.
Lou.
Thanks to Jesse and Deb.
Always.
Who else we got? Who else we thanking this
Thanks,
week?
Essa
Rick,
A.
Morty, Essa A, and Bruce Arians.
Oh, of course, BA.
Thank BA.
We're always throwing
Before
a
the
thank
season
you to
comes.
Rick and Zach. Good dudes.
John, as always, it's time to 86 something. What are we 86?
Oh, this one's easy. We're 86 in kinked colons.
Oh yeah, well done. Don't kink your
Don't
colon,
kink your
America.
colon. Squatty
Or-
potty, baby.
Or international audience, no more kinked colons, please.
The new boy in the neighborhood lives downstairs and it's understood. He's there just to take good care of me, like he's one of the